Hi everyone, it's Koinzell here. So today we're going to update the Hu Tao F2P guide with the 4-star weapon Dragon Spin. Initially I did not include this weapon, it's because there was no crit rate, crit damage or HP percentage being provided by Dragon Spin, and I find that its effect was a bit unreliable as well. But through a chat with a viewer on the first F2P video that I did for Hu Tao, the user nick Ainsama, he or she did bring out a good point about using XingQiu to achieve a reliable prod on this weapon refinement effect. And I tested out in-game with XingQiu and Hu Tao, with XingQiu and Diluc, since we don't have Hu Tao yet. So the results were quite alright, and I will show them later in the video. So first off, the stats for Dragon Spin, I have already crunched it. Basically it has the same attack as Deathmatch, which is the lowest attack amongst all the 4-star weapons. Okay, so that also means that the HP percentage requirement is also the lowest. As you can see here, it's really not high compared to 5-star weapons like Primordial Jade Wind Spear, right? Now the rest of the assumptions etc. still remain the same. Okay, so if you want to know more about how I did the basis of the calculations, the assumptions etc., feel free to check out the first F2P video guide. There is a session there where I cover the basis of assumptions and calculations. And I'll put up the video link to the first F2P guide as well as the 5-star weapon comparison for both for Hu Tao. I'll put it up in the top right corner here as well as in the pinned comments and the description as well. So you probably shouldn't miss it with all these 3 places. Yeah. Okay, now let's go straight into the figures first. So you see the figure for Dragon Spin is actually pretty nice, considering if the R5 effect is always active. Even R1 effect being active is also pretty good. Bear in mind that I have already done the formula to take into consideration that you are using a Pyro damage goblet, so the actual damage is slightly lower since it's not over 100% but over 146.6%. Okay, so the weapon refinement effect is increased damage against opponents affected by Hydro or Pyro by 20%. And at R5 you get 40%. Okay, so you see Hydro, XingQiu, Pyro, Hu Tao. That's why the XingQiu and the Hu Tao combination is actually very good for this weapon. Alright, now there's Elemental Mastery on this weapon, unfortunately. Fortunately, depends on how you see it, how much you value Elemental Mastery. But I'll share that the 221 Elementary Mastery here. Later on I'll share how much damage it actually helps to provide. But bear in mind that elemental reactions do have the internal cooldown based on the triggering attack and element, type of attack and element. So I'll show later I'll show later with the Diluc's normal attack when it's infused with Pyro, which is very similar to Hu Tao during her E. I'll show how frequent the Vaporize will happen. It's definitely not every hit. Okay? Right. Now let's go into the Dragon Spin conclusion itself, because I try to do it, how should I put it? I want to make this video shorter than the previous 2 videos. Yeah, because the first video is really long, 1 hour plus, and the second video is like 40 plus minutes, the one with the 5-star weapons. Alright, so first off, let's jump straight in. Although Dragon Spin does not have any CR or HP stats, CR, CD or HP stats, its weapon effect is actually really good if coupled together with XingQiu, because it allows the effect to more or less always be there. Because Hydro, when you prop Vaporize with Pyro on Hydro, on an existing Hydro, it reduces the, how should I put it? It reduces the duration of your Hydro on the character, on the opponent, by a lesser factor than if it was the other way around, where it was Pyro and then Hydro. If it's Hydro first then Pyro, the Hydro will last longer. And with the Hydro lasting longer, it means that your weapon effect is still there. And if you think about how XingQiu's Q works where it continuously attacks with the rain swords, with your normal attacks, and then Hu Tao's normal attacks having Pyro. In theory, basically, you can ensure that the weapon effect is always there. So that's really good, by the way. So that raises its ranking by a lot, and in the conclusion later, I'll show the updated ranking for the 4 4-star weapons that we are looking at here. I did not include Royal Spear because I think everyone knows that Royal Spear honestly isn't that good. Its effect is quite bad actually, and it doesn't have crit rate or crit damage or HP percentage, and its effect is unlike Dragon's Bane where it's a direct damage multiplier based on certain conditions. It is simply you get crit rate, 8% crit rate every hit, and you lose that bonus crit once the moment you crit. So honestly, that weapon effect is not that good, right? Yeah, so the increased 221 elemental mastery from the Dragon's Bane substat increases the Vaporize damage by about 37.8%. So this 37.8% is 37.8% of the 1.5 multiplier that you get from triggering Vaporize, Pyro on Hydro. Okay, so this 37.8% stands to gain an additional 0.5 as well. Sorry, not 0.5, an additional 50% of itself. So it's like 1.5 times the 137.8%, and that is your actual Vaporize percentage. But bear in mind that Vaporize will not trigger every hit on Hu Tao's normal attacks during E. Based on what I tested with Diluc and factoring the attack speed of Polearm versus Claymore, Diluc is Claymore, Hu Tao is Polearm, right? So if I factor in the attack speed, I believe that it's gonna be every 5 to 6 hits where you can trigger Vaporize. It's for sure not going to be every hit, because there is how should I put it? There is an internal cooldown based on the triggering element and the type of attack that's doing that element when it comes to elemental reactions. Okay, so it's slightly going to be 5 to 6 hits, but once Hu Tao is out next week, more or less, I guess it's confirmed, hopefully, then we can test it out, the exact number of times that we can get Vaporize, right? Now let's talk about the next point, which is CR or CD versus HP Headpiece on Dragon's Bane. Dragon's Bane has the lowest attack amongst 4-star weapons, just like Deathmatch, making its HP requirement really low, but unlike Deathmatch, it does not contribute to CR. So what does this mean? This actually means that your artifact upgrades are more restrictive as opposed to Deathmatch. Deathmatch, you can easily have like 10 plus artifact upgrades that are flexible. You don't need them to go into CR or HP or crit damage in order to get the optimal setup. You can afford to have those all go into flat defense, flat attack, energy recharge, whatever else lousy stat that it will be. But for the Dragon's Bane, it's actually not the case. If you see here, there's this corner here. Let's not be lazy. Let's show the full picture, okay? So at a 50% CR target, skill level 9, there's only 6 or 4 flexible upgrades left if you want to hit the max attack cap. And I don't recommend, obviously, these two choices are better. So it's really a matter of which one you want to get more upgrades from. So it's a lot more restricted than say Deathmatch, because Deathmatch, you can see Deathmatch is really easy. You have 15 flexible upgrades, 13 and 16, so the requirement is really low. Thanks to the fact that Deathmatch has quite a nice amount of crit rate, honestly speaking. It's even higher than the crit rate helmet if you think about it, right? Even at level 80 it's higher than the crit rate helmet. So, okay. So that being said, without the crit rate, it does make the artifact upgrade a lot tougher with Dragon's Bane compared to Deathmatch. In fact, let's look at Blackcliff Pole. So even Blackcliff Pole is easier to gear for in terms of the artifact than Dragon Spin. Even Black Cliff Pose is easier to gear for. Okay, and to give a bit of perspective, the Dragon's Bane here, you have like 646 here, right? The number of flexible upgrades. This is 6 is almost the same as what I got for my Hu Tao. After 2 weeks of max releasing refill farming. In fact, mine was somewhere around 8 if I were to really calculate it. My number of flexible upgrades is really somewhere around 8. That's why my stats is a bit lacking compared, or maybe it's even more than that, means about 9, because my stats are a bit lacking compared to the final target that I was trying to gun for, which was 80 CR. I only had like 63.3% CR. So number 1 was my base rolls obviously did not meet these assumptions, and my number of upgrades also did not go as well as I wanted to. Okay, so why am I sharing all this? I'm sharing all this because based on my experience, I'll say that even with 2 weeks of raising refill farming, I may not be able to farm something like this. After 2 weeks of max raising refill farming, the best result I got was worse than this actually. It's about 8 or 9 flexible upgrades that went into like all the unwanted stats. Okay, so yeah, this sounds good, but it's really not easy, guys. You just think about it, right? 6 upgrades, 6 flexible upgrades means that across 5 artifacts, you can only afford 1 upgrade to go wrong. That is in essence what it means. 1.2. Maybe one of the artifacts you can afford 2 to go wrong. The other 4 artifacts you need your 1, you can only afford 1 upgrade to go wrong. That is what it means when you say there's 6 flexible upgrades. So yeah, it's not easy to gear for using Dragon Spin as opposed to Black Cliff Pole or Deathmatch. Lifting on the other hand, R5 Lithic is slightly easier or about the same. No, R5 Lithic is also slightly harder than Dragon Spin. R5 Lithic you'll be left with about 4 flexible upgrades as opposed to 6 on Dragon Spin. But at that point in time, I'll say it's equally difficult already. Although you can argue to say that the lesser the number of the flexible upgrades, exponentially harder it is, the closer it gets to 0 number of flexible upgrades. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, that's that. Now let's go back to the main topic, which is about the Headpiece, which is the main stat you want to use. So for 50% CR target, actually CR, CD, or HP Headpiece all are usable. But personally, I don't recommend crit damage as it makes your upgrade options more restrictive. Is in fact this one here, where there are only 4 flexible upgrades. Because Hu Tao already has crit damage as an Ascension substat. That is why with a crit damage helmet, you basically hit 155 here. And it makes it kind of a waste because okay, let me just, for the benefit of people who may not have watched my previous videos or may not have captured this particular point, I'm gonna mention it now. The more base rolls that you have on the artifact, the ones where you want HP percentage, CR percentage, CD percentage, or even attack percentage, it's really hard to get those, right? We all know that it's really hard to get the perfect base rolls. But once you get the perfect base roll, it makes your life upgrading these artifacts easier, especially if your requirements on these artifacts are spread throughout. If you use a CD Headpiece on Dragon Spin, targeting 50% CR, what happens is that you are only gunning, you will be so restricted to 2 stats only. You need to get crit rate and HP. You need to get a lot of crit rate and a lot of HP percentage from the artifact upgrades. But if, let's say, if it wasn't 9 and 9, let's say it was spread evenly throughout, say 6 and 6 and 6, you can see why it's much easier to upgrade, right? Okay, for 80% CR target, unlike Deathmatch, you actually need skill level 12, i.e. C3 Hu Tao, in order to hit 400% attack cap, along with a CR Headpiece, if you want to hit 80% CR target. you can't afford to use CD Headpiece with 80% CR target. It's just not possible. The numbers of artifact upgrades available. The only way to hit 80% CR target with the Dragon's Bane is with CR Headpiece and along with skill level 12, i.e. C3 Hu Tao. You'll see here, this is for 80% CR target. You aren't able to hit the max attack cap. Max attack cap is 2240 at character level 90 and Dragon's Bane level 90. Okay, so that's one thing to consider. If you guys are like really keen on 80% CR target, then the Dragon's Bane actually requires C3 Hu Tao along with the base skill level 9. So the conclusion about Dragon's Bane is there's still some flexibility in terms of the CR, CD, HP, Headpiece. I don't recommend CD for 50% CR target. For 80% CR target, I recommend CR Headpiece. And artifact upgrades are a lot harder than Deathmatch and also harder than Blackcliff Pool. Okay, next 80 to 90. Okay, so this is pretty much the same as what I always cover. The point here is really just to bring out that compared to other traditional attack based characters, you get about 550 to 610 attack boost during Hu Tao's E skill, since she has that boost based on the HP. So up to you guys to decide whether or not it's worth it. I definitely think it's worth it. After all, Hu Tao level 90, you also get more crit damage stats, right? And do bear in mind that if you increase weapon level to 90 without increasing character level, the HP percentage requirement will be much higher since base HP is not required, not increased. Okay? So to conclude, right, Dragon's Bane is actually a very good option, provided Hu Tao is paired with XingQiu all the time. A Meltcon in theory sounds like it may work too, but your cryo will last shorter. The duration of the cryo will last shorter due to Pyro being the stronger trigger. And also cryo will result in the weapon effect not being active, the one where you get bonus damage against enemies affected by Hydro or Pyro. Because if your Pyro inside the trigger, your Pyro is not going to be there on the character. So that means that you're not going to get the weapon effect. And when that happens, if you use a cryo together with Hu Tao, you pretty much run into the situation where you are doing the same amount of damage as Deathmatch. Yep, that's not good. You're pretty much going to be doing the same damage as Deathmatch if you don't get your weapon effect to be constantly active. So the caveat about Dragon's Bane being very good is that it comes along with a condition where it must be paired with a Hydro. It must be a reliable Hydro applier like XingQiu. I mean, Mona is doable, but Mona isn't really as consistent. It's far from consistent actually. Yeah. Don't forget that when you use Hu Tao, her E skill, when she's infused with Pyro for her normal attacks, the moment you switch out to another character, you will lose the infusion. So it's not a case where you can use your cryo, use Hu Tao, and within, I don't know, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, you switch back to your cryo to reapply cryo, and then you switch back out to Hu Tao. By then, you switch out back to Hu Tao on the second time, her E is no longer effective and is on cooldown. So this Dragon's Bane is a very good option, provided it comes with XingQiu. Really, XingQiu is really the only reliable applier of Hydro for her, honestly speaking. Alright, so that is it for the Dragon's Bane deep dive itself. Now let's look at the overall conclusion. So, overall conclusion, okay. Did not want to show that. Wait, actually no. Let's look at in-game. I should show you guys in-game, right? Okay, so first off, let's see XingQiu's Q together with Pyro attack from Diluc. Pyro infusion, that's why we are using the burst here. So now, we have Hydro applied and we are using normal attacks. You note that the normal attacks, they don't vaporize every hit. Right? Okay, now let me repeat that part again. And I'll slow it down. Okay, so first hit we managed to get the Vaporize. Second, no. Third, no. Fourth hit we got it. And then because the recovery of the fourth hit on Claymore is slower, so now this time, the third hit we got it. So you get the gist of it that there is a set amount of time when it comes to normal attack of applying the Vaporize effect. Okay? So, with the fact that Claymore is a much slower attack compared to Polearm, which Hu Tao is using, this essentially means that it's likely going to be every 5 to 6 hits for Hu Tao where a Vaporize will happen. That means that the 221 Elemental Mastery from Dragon's Bane is only effective every 5 to 6 hits as well. Right. So that's the point to note. Oh, by the way, both my XingQiu and Diluc is using level 1 weapons in this case, just so that I can test out the reactions for you guys. Alright. Okay, sorry, the aspect ratio was a bit off just now. Let me slow this down. This is to show the Hydro, the fact that Hydro actually lasts. But obviously we have seen that just now, just like maybe the Ruin Guard wasn't that clear. So you see here, with the Elemental skill, on the third hit, we can trigger Vaporize. But after the third hit, the Hydro is gone. So with the usage of XingQiu's E, his Elemental skill, the Hydro applied only lasts about 5-6 seconds along with Vaporize reactions. Okay, so your best way of utilizing Hu Tao's full 9 seconds of E is still with XingQiu's Q, the one where there's constant Hydro Rain Sword speed that spawn and attack your enemy together with your normal attacks. Okay, I still have a couple more videos to look at. Okay, there's a silver lining here. If you look at the Rain Sword, once you come into contact with the enemy, the Rain Sword itself, it actually applies the wet status. This means that when XingQiu uses his Elemental skill, if you go close enough, like right next to the opponent, you still can apply wet on them. Now, let me just repeat that part. You see here? You can see, okay. He casts the skill, so it's not sure, but yeah, it's not clear, but yes, you can see, right? It applies the wet the moment this Rain Sword comes into contact with your opponent. So that's the silver lining. Just now I said that it lasts about 5-6 seconds, right? You can attempt to use the Rain Sword to help you do a better job at applying the wet, but obviously the Q is still a better option, or the Elemental Burst is still a better option. Alright? Okay, this last video here, this showcase here is just to show with the Rain Swords, you can't actually apply charge attack when you charge through your opponent. It doesn't actually apply the Rain Sword effect. You need to go near to the opponent to apply the Rain Sword effect. Alright? So that's the whole point of this video. That's what I'm just trying to show here. Okay, so basically, the concept of wait, sorry, I'm trying to solve a problem here. You see? Yeah, this problem comes when I press F8. Okay, so anyway, let's just forget about that. So those are the points to note when it comes to using Vaporize with XingQiu. So Dragon's Bane, some key summary is that Dragon's Bane doesn't trigger every hit. The Vaporize, it only triggers only every 5 to 6 hits on the Hu Tao. Okay, so that's where the Elemental Mastery comes in. The weapon effect of Dragon's Bane is only active if you use XingQiu together with Hu Tao. Otherwise, for most scenarios, it's not going to be active. And don't forget about slimes. When you attack slimes other than Hydro and Pyro slimes, your weapon effect will never be there. But the good thing is that slimes are easy to kill, right? So it's not so bad. I don't know whether in future they may introduce like elemental spirits that are harder to kill. And if so, then the weapon effect like what Dragon Spin has would not be that good. Okay, now let's look at the attack range. So all of this is pretty much the same, except for Dragon's Bane, where I've added the attack range, so that you guys know what type of range we're talking about. So if you try to go for 80% CR target on Dragon's Bane, obviously you suffer too much attack loss from not being able to hit a 400% attack cap. So the attack is actually one of the lowest, 2741. But if you are going for a 50% CR target and you manage to roll the artifacts, you can actually get 4138 attack. So 4138 attacks, it's actually quite a high artifact requirements. I covered it earlier, only 6 flexible upgrades. This is only 4 flexible upgrades. Okay. So honestly, difficulty wise, almost the same if you ask me. But Lifted Spear does have a higher attack, and not to mention, how should I put it? The condition is easier to meet because the max stats condition is easier to meet. You just need to arrange your comp without any better condition. Whereas for Dragon's Bane, there is better condition involved. You need to pair your XingQiu together with Hu Tao in order to get this weapon effect, in order to get this 4.1k effect here. Alright. Okay, this is the ranking that I have newly done up based on the 4 weapons that we have looked at. So first one is R5 Lifted, assuming an all Liyue comp, which honestly speaking isn't that hard to do. If you're talking about using Hu Tao and then XingQiu, you have 2 already, and just get another 2 more. It's pretty straightforward. Obviously, the Cell shouldn't be in there because Cell doesn't get there's no other animal character from Liyue. So you don't have an animal battery for him if you try to use Lifted, or you try to put him in any comp that has Lifted. Okay, now rank 2, I'll say it's either R1 Lifted or R5 Dragon Spin with the weapon effect active, i.e. with the XingQiu and Hu Tao combo. Okay, so am I? This is the bug that happens when the F8 is pressed. Okay, so these two are more or less the same in terms of the attack value. R5 Dragon's Bane is about 3698 if I didn't remember wrongly, while R1 Lifted is about... Sorry, that's wrong. R5 Dragon's Bane, actually, you know what, let's just look at it. Okay, I managed to fix it. Okay, so basically, R5 Dragon's Bane is 4138 attack, R1 is 3695. The 3695 figure that I remember was actually the R1 Dragon's Bane. This is R5 Dragon's Bane. Okay, so moving forward to back to the ranking. So R1 Lifted is about 4120, let's see. Yeah, 4207. So obviously it's slightly better than the Dragon's Bane. But since Dragon's Bane has the a bit of added damage from the Elemental Mastery from Vaporize every 5 to 6 hits, that's why I just put it here, more or less on par. R1 Lifted together with R5 Dragon's Bane. So how you decide whether you want to use R1 Lifted or R5 Dragon's Bane? Obviously, R5 Dragon's Bane is harder to get. You need 5 of the same Dragon's Bane. Lifted, you only need 1 of it. I guess Dragon's Bane, if you don't have XingQiu built and ready, probably don't need to consider, right? Whereas if you have, then it's considerable. You also need to make sure you have a working Liyue team for using Lifted Spear. And also the artifact upgrades. If I didn't remember, only R1 Lifted upgrades are harder than Dragon's Bane. Yep, it's harder because the R1 Lifted gives too little crit rate. It only gives 12% crit rate for max stats, unlike the R5 Lifted that gives you 28% crit rate. So R5 Dragon's Bane will be easier to gear the artifacts as opposed to R1 lifting, although both are not easy. Okay, third rank, I will actually put the Black Cliff max stats, but obviously this is very conditional, right? We all know that this is very conditional. For example, it's Pyro Abyss. If you go to floor 12, that's floor 12 chamber 1, the freaking 2 Jovishaps, Primo Jov. Wait, no, it's not Primo Jovishaps, it's just Jovishaps. Those are not, your Black Cliff is basically not going to be in effect, right? But I do put this here because at least the value that it provides is still higher than the rest of this, that's why I still put it here. Bear in mind that this is very conditional to achieve. Next in the ranking, rank 4 will be R5 Black Cliff, where we say realistically you get 1 to 2 stats, not so bad. It's more or less on par here with the rest of weapons here, which is R1 Black Cliff max stats. Again, R1 Black Cliff max stats is very conditional, okay? And then we have R1 Dragon Spin. Okay, so R1 Dragon Spin is worse off than R5 Black Cliff on max stats. But if you've considered the fact that R5 Black Cliff max stats is too conditional, R1 Dragon Spin with the weapon effect active as well. Sorry, I forgot to type that. With the weapon effect active as well, it more or less is better than the... It's on par when you come to the realistic 1 to 2 stats on R5 Black Cliff. R1 Dragon Spin is actually on par. So R1 Dragon Spin is much cheaper to get compared to R5 Black Cliff. Okay, depends on your luck with pooling. Whereas for Black Cliff, you don't need the pooling, right? You just buying from the shop. It's realistically, it's something that you can accumulate and save on. So R1 Dragon Spin with weapon effect active. This is, I need to repeat again, it's with XingQiu. Okay, only with XingQiu. Rank 5 will be R5 R1 Black Cliff without any stacks. And this means that without any stats, regardless of whether it's R1 or R5, it's actually on par with R5 Deathmatch. The worst is actually R1 Deathmatch. Yeah, the worst is R1 Deathmatch. Okay, R5 Deathmatch is about 3.5k attack. R1 Deathmatch is lower than that actually. I don't remember, but let me look at the 90. So R1 is about 3385. Okay, assuming the max attack percentage which is less than 2 opponents, which is 1-on-1 situation. Yeah. Alright, so there you go. This is the conclusion after we do a deep dive on Dragon Spin. Dragon Spin is surprisingly performing quite well. But the caveat is with XingQiu and with specific playstyle. And also bear in mind that Vaporize doesn't happen every hit. It's probably going to happen every 5 to 6 hits. Alright. Okay, so thanks everyone for watching. The video still went a bit longer than I wanted to. I wanted it to keep to 20 plus minutes, but it's like 32 minutes right now. Alright, if you find the content helpful or if you like the content, remember to like the video and click subscribe for more. Thanks everyone for watching. Bye.